Yeah,
What's going on?
we
Can you
live.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So, should we give time or should we just jump right in?
Maybe we could give a few minutes. I don't know. I was thinking about maybe a few seconds or something.
Oh, how are you feeling
Or
though?
they put the professor up there. I feel great, bro. You know what I mean? Even though in the midst of pandemic, I still feel great. I'm happy to be alive and thankful for what I have. Real spit.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and man, we'll just get into it. So today is the second episode, of Time on Live, with the professor and the coach. And today we just want to dig a little bit deeper into uh, our lives, and our journeys, and what led us to point in our lives, and what led to our transformation and to our growth, and to the where we began to work on our inner, and we started living instead of surviving. Because a lot of times where we grew up, in a lot of underprivileged communities, we taught to survive and we are taught to live. It's always, how do you make it through each day, opposed to how do you maximize, live each day till its fullest potential. And that's one of the ways you and I connected when we just met. You were running through uh, analytics and things put together, and I came up to you after, and I was like, man, I told you, I said, man, you're the most prolific person that I've ever seen since pop. Just your delivery, presentation, your knowledge, um, and the extensive research that you've been doing, to help people move forward. And we had a conversation earlier today, and one of the things that you said, that I would love to tap into today, is you said that people always talk about your story, but not your life. People always talk about one chapter, that is you fighting for freedom, but we don't get to the root of, how you came, who are, and what led to, your trials and tribulations, and what led you to the different, levels in your life. And we talked about your growing up with you and your mom, a single mom, just the things that you all grew through. And I would love for you to just take us into that journey, and the beginning of life, and where you started out, where you originated from.
Yeah, my name is Terrance Stewart. And I came up, I moved around a lot, and I'm the statewide director for California Safety and Justice, TimeDone Project, which advocates for people living with past convictions. And we know that like in California, there's over 8 million people living with past convictions, and if 8 million people was one state, we'd be the 13th largest state in America. So we advocate for a pretty significant amount of people. And like what brought me to this thing is like everything that you're saying is that the way that I was brought up. There's a poem that I always used to say, but my dad had to cheat to get meat and ended up in a police backseat. So even with my mom, like my mom had me at 15, and like growing up, my father he got incarcerated when I was young. And so me and my mom, we kind of grew up together. She about 15 years older than me, and she we came up from humble beginnings. I don't never remember my mom and my grandma living in the same house. My mom always been on her own, and she was the one that told me like about collateral consequences before they was even collateral consequences. She was telling me, like, you be careful out there, the system, and once you get something on your record, you're gonna have to it's gonna cut out a lot of things that you're gonna be eligible to do. So, like, protect your record. And I was like most any other kids, I was hard headed, and I had to figure out what the streets was about on my own, and I got in some trouble, you know. But my mom, like being like that, she was not too much older than me and grew up in my situation. We I grew up in the '80s, so So like when all that crack and just say no to drugs and all that stuff, my mom was pretty much about 22. I was probably about 5, 6, 7, and like this was the reality that we were living in. And I have a thing, like saying, my mom had me at 15. Had me at 15. Don't get me wrong, she a black queen, but we live around crack fiends, and when they say good morning, we didn't know what that mean, and like that's the situation that it was. And my mom, she came up from humble beginnings, but she ended up getting in trouble for a little while, and she started telling me about the collateral consequences of criminal conviction and how it enabled her to doing a lot of things. But my mom stayed persistent in everything that she did and ended up becoming a homeowner, and still she works very hard to this day. But she owns about 3 houses, coming up from Skid Row. We lived in hotels down in Skid Row. We lived in the Aliso villages in Los Angeles. We lived in some pretty places. And now my mom's a homeowner, and she got 3 children, and all 3 of us are college grads now. So like my mom set the standard, for us not to give up and not to feel sorry for ourselves, and know that we live in a world where nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, and don't nobody owe you nothing. So you're gonna have to work hard for everything you get and be appreciative of what you have. So my mom taught me these lessons through life. So man, shout out to my mom. I love you, mama. Dear mama.
Yeah, I love that. Love to hear that, of your. And a lot of times when people see people with past conviction, that's all they see, right? They see someone who, quote unquote, was given a second chance, and someone who earned a second chance. Because after you are incarcerated, you have to go through a certain level of healing, and transformation. And you have to find yourself, and then after you do heal and you transform, you still have to go out every day of your life proving yourself to everyone that you're not your worst state. That you are the worst thing that's ever done in your life. And so there's an internal battle and an external battle going on, inside and outside. So how did your transformation start? Where did your transformation start when you realized that you wanted to change your life? You realized that you wanted to rewire yourself the inside out, and you realized that you wanted something different, and you wanted to unlearn the majority of things that you thought were the right thing to do. Where did that your journey start?
Well, for me, a lot of it happened in college. I'm really adamant about college because I feel like college saved my life. Like Lupe Fiasco's song "Hip Hop Saved My Life." I feel like college saved mine. And like it was my road to reentry. I got out of prison and I went to college 2 weeks out. And doing so, like I engaged in extracurricular activities. But the thing that that the most significant is that before that moment I wasn't given too much of an opportunity to do nothing positive. I was shined by a lot of different systems. It's especially the one that I engaged in the most, the school system. And I was kicked out of school by the time I was in 9th grade, like so many others. I was I had independent studies, so I pretty much taught myself school since ninth grade all the way to 12th. I had packaging work and all that stuff. So like, um, I never went to no prom, no school dances, no none of that stuff. So like, I couldn't go to high school games, nothing. So like, it was like college was, in school was like a big void, but some kind of way I still wanted to go because I did graduate from high school on time. I just had to graduate on an alternative route. So like, college was one of the things that I wanted to do. And I'd engaged. At first I really didn't even know how good I was going to be at it. I just wanted to get off of parole, and I used college as a place that was going to get me there. And I got there, and I liked it. I think Compton College was where I went to, and I think Compton College was a great place for a person for reentry, especially the fact that like it was 4 people I was locked up with that went there. It was other people I know who was there, so in the professors cared, if you're trying to do something good in the community, they were willing to help you. And really what brought me to a lot of this stuff is that I started going to the student government meetings. And when I was going to the student government meetings, it was a town hall at City Hall, and they needed somebody to speak there, and everybody else was engaged. They had previous engagements. So I went to the college and I spoke at a town hall. And when I spoke at that town hall, the mayor, the provost of Compton College, Compton Community College School College District was there, and the dean of students. And I talked about how this college gave me an opportunity to a person who had never had an opportunity before. And at leadership, and and because of that, I'm forever grateful, and this college is changing lives, and when I sat down, I was the only person sitting down. Everybody was on their feet clapping, and it gave me an opportunity because I advocated for people with past convictions in that moment, talking about, me being out and all that stuff. So like from that moment, I kind of started being a voice for people living with past convictions, indirectly, but that's just what happened. And it started that mission, and from that moment on, I had a line on the mayor, the provost, and the dean of students. So like, and it was great because they asked me to speak at that thing. They need somebody to speak at the thing. So right. So the next day, it was a weekend. So the next day they called the provost, the mayor, and the dean called looking for me, and like, he was like, "What did you do at that meeting?"
That's amazing.
And it was one of my first speeches I ever gave in public and everything, and it probably was one of my best speeches, and from that moment, like I said, that I was given opportunities, and every opportunity that they seen fit for me to speak as a person with past convictions, I was doing it. And then from there, I started work doing felon-friendly jobs. I worked to do Mike Chanham, rest in peace, and out in Watts, Compton, and we started doing felon-friendly job for people who have past convictions, so they can learn about how to get a job. And and like we started a little campus club, and like until the moment that I graduated with from Compton College, I participated in this organization. So that's kind of like what got me to this work. It's just it kind of found me. It kind of found me. The opportunity presented itself. Nobody else wanted to do it. I don't know how people take this and stuff, but I believe in God, man, and I believe He set that play, and and that moment was made for me, and to be to where I'm at today, So like, yeah, I think that was like one of the biggest changing points.
They have an award named after you at Compton College, right?
No, it's at UCR. At UCR.
Okay.
University of California, Riverside. Yeah, yes, it's Compton College. I got the top awards there. It was called a Dream Major Award, and it's named after a speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King, about being like on the forefront of change, and so like I got that, and I was placed in the who's in college and universities while I was there. I maintained like over 3.6 GPA. So like, formerly incarcerated, business major, left there with honors, all types of stuff, man. It was about like, like for the first time people seen was like, this is what change looked like, this is what change looked like. It's not pretty. I mean, well, maybe I ain't gonna say I'm not. I'm not. You know, it's handsome. It ain't pretty. You know, what I mean? Let me say it that way. You know,
Yeah.
but still, like you know, it's what change was. You know, and I did that, and I was helping people in classes too. It ain't was just not advocating. I helped people too. I tutored people. You know, and I was a person who didn't even go to traditional school. I had independent studies. You know what I mean? And package work, and you know, I was able to grab concepts and do well in college, you know, and like, you know, I never thought that I would because I was kicked out of school, but you know, college became everything to me. It was the first time I ever felt appreciated in life, you know, the first time I ever was proud to be Terrance Stewart, you know.
Yeah, that's powerful. And another thing on that journey and on that transition for people who are watching, um, what are some of the books you read? What are some of the techniques that you used to do that inner work? You know, I would love to hear some of that, or some any quotes or something that kind of helped guide you through you know, your transformation.
Well, it always came at different levels, you know, it always came at different levels, you know, like at first it was just like, you know, what a tangle web we weave when first we practice to deceive, you know, Whitman, you know, and like in community college, like, you know, um poetry was like a big thing for me. So like, it's still like if you see like on my events, I plan on doing a poetry slam, but poetry was a big thing for me. Langston Hughes, the Mother to Son poem.
Yeah.
You know, life has not been crystal stairs. It's taxed. Sometimes boards are missing. You know, but I've been climbing, honey. You know, I mean, reaching landings. You know, turning corners. You know, sometimes it's no carpet. Sometimes there's no lights. You know, but I be climbing. You know, and like you said, don't never sit on them stairs because you find it kind of hard. You know, and that's what life is about. Like, you know, don't sit down because you think it's kind of hard, because like, you know, we got a far way to go, you know. And I just figured like as long as I keep on making steps, you know what I mean, I will get to my destination. So like in community college, like some of the most inspirational things was poetry, you know, by the way of Langston Hughes, Amari Baraka, Jill Heron Scott, you know, the Watts poets, the Last poets, you know what I mean? Like I was really into like poetry when I that was like one of the most uplifting things at that time, because poetry was not an option, you know. And like what I try to do is I took that Langston Hughes book thing, and I took Tupac, you know, the roads that grew from concrete, and I made it the mother talking to the son, but then the son talking, responding back to the mother with, have you ever heard of the roads that grew from the concrete, learning to define eyes and learn how to walk without having feet, you know. And like, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, with the mother talking to the son, telling them not to sit down, when the son coming back countering, talking about, have you heard from the roses from the concrete? I put them two poems together, and I think like, you know, it matched beautifully, and I think that's what really helped me. And then like also in community college was like just basic learning how to structure my reading and my understanding, like how to have, you know, create a hook and intro to support my body and then conclude with it. And I think like just reading books on structure, I did a lot of that too, to help out to create my form of writing and create my form of making points. So yeah, like that helped out a lot. And then like, you know, I was just talking about for community college, you know, I mean for the 4 year, it was stuff like White Skin Black Mass, Frank Funan, and like how you said before, like, you know, it was a point in his book where he talked about it was a little boy shivering on a bus, and they wouldn't help him because of the stigma that was attached to his body, as him being a black male, is that they thought he was a cannibal, so they wouldn't even help him. So like society would kind of like, you know, not help you because of like stigma upon you, and this could be a hungry, starving kid, and you refuse to help him just because you're afraid of something that's not even true. And I found that really significant. But what I did also find was that, like what you just said right now, is that we look at only snippets of people's life. Like that little boy, we talked about his story, and it had some great epiphany about it. But like this little boy living in skin every day of his life, you know, and like, you know, you know, how did he even get on the bus? You know, like, was it a struggle to even do that and all types of other stuff? So like, it's not just to think about what he's the kid going through in the struggle in that moment when we've seen it and we feel this epiphany, but it's also his whole life, you know, and like what will the future bring for that youth, you know? So like, it's a lot like that. I did, and then like, you know, and studying, and then like it's other people who I read about. Like I was telling you earlier, like what I want to do with this conversation is operate under anti-deficit achievement framework, where I to talk about the positives of like getting out and reentry instead of sitting here telling you that, you know, I'm sitting here begging for a handout, because like, you know, the last thing in the world is that I want is a handout. I want to work for what I got. And like, you know what I mean? I want to take care of my family and I want to be a provider. And that's what, you know, what we work hard for, you know? So like, but like, you know, anything that I'm deserving of, I feel like I deserve to have it. You know what I mean? I feel like I shouldn't be discriminated against because of something that I did a long time ago, especially after I done spent so many years of trying to right my wrongs.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And
Oh yeah, I'm talking about, and the anti-deficit achievement framework is under Sean Harper. You know what I mean? And he
okay.
created at Penn State, but now he's teaching at USC. So like, you know, yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Um, Before we close it out, I want to go into some of the work that we are doing here at Time Done with you, you know, an update on things to come, and, you know, certain oppositions.
Hmm.
If you could just, you know, give us an update.
Oh, me? Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, like one of my main focuses, and there's some other ones too, because it's like it's the proposition on the ballot. You know what I mean? And this year on the ballot, like, you know, we got to be conscious because like, you know, every 10 years they try to roll out a tough on crime initiative, you know what I mean, to incarcerate more of our people. And we have seen ever since, like I was talking about before, is to just say no, you know, and the propaganda that goes behind it. Like, you know, like just say no with the organizing model that they used before with Nancy Reagan. And I remember that. I remember the commercial. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? You know, and because of that, like, you know, like this whole change, this whole paradigm shift of law enforcement and everything happened because they went from prioritizing murder as number one to drugs being number one, you know, and like because of that, they started to lock more people up for longer serious times and start creating crafting other things to so that we have this massive machine of what we're talking about, mass incarceration or the prison industrial complex that we have now. So like, you know, through the years, Californians for Safety and Justice, the organization that we have came with things such as Prop 47 and 57, and you know, and not even us, like the federal set out mandates where they had to find ways to release other prisoners, and they had to come with AB 109 and so forth and so on, and we worked things from ban the box and like, you know, but to work towards freedom, you know, and well, for people living with past evictions. So, you know, this year they got something that they're going to have for the 2020 tough on crime legislation. It's on the ballot, and what it's going to do is it's going to it'll take it'll take California's felony threshold for retail theft for theft from $950 to $250. So like, you know, which would make California one of the lowest felony thresholds in the nation. You know, and like because of that, it's going to be a whole lot of more. It's going to increase incarceration a whole lot, and I think it's like significant to highlight the fact that like it takes over $65,000 a year to lock up somebody. So we're going to lock people up for $250 and pay $65,000 for it. And I just think, like, you know what I mean, with all that money, it's other things that we can do to correct the issue. You know what I mean? Like, given that $65,000, you could probably split it in half and pay two people, you know. So it's like, you know, it's the same conversation that they're talking about right now with defunding the police, but it's more like it's more than that. It's defunding the whole criminal justice system and putting in measures at play so that we can help people recover, because it's significant that they show that, like, in people in Norwalk and stuff like that, the prisons and stuff, and like how it's like geared towards rehabilitation. And like, you know, and it's the question that I ask, you know, is that you know, are our prisons geared for rehabilitation. I know they put the R on CDCR, but like, are they really geared towards rehabilitating a human being? You know, because when you talk about rehabilitating a human being, that means coming anew and giving a person a new opportunity at life. You know, and like, you know, I don't think it is, because like if it's grounded in the 13th Amendment, which is on the Constitution, is that, you know, anybody who go to jail, like, you know, they're subject to and I'm paraphrasing, nonviolent servitude. So nonviolent servitude is work. When you say servitude, that's work. You know what I mean? So like, are people going to give up free work? You know what I mean? So it's like, the reason why this system is keep on going is because it's about this free work, and like, you know, and people create more methods to put people up in there is what they're doing. You know, so it's like, you know, we need to divest from this type of system and start investing in like alternatives, you know what I mean, to build community and address some of these other issues that are at play, you know. So I mean, that's one of the things that's coming up. We're gonna have bail reform on the ballot. They're gonna also have make it fair, you know what I mean, so that corporations are paying their fair chance of taxes instead of the human beings just paying it. So it's a lot of little criminal justice things on the ballot. Also, we got things coming up, like Ed came on 2 weeks ago. He talked about all these different associations. We're trying to create a reentry association, so that we can have support systems for people with past convictions, because like, we know, like, what's going on now in the world is that they're going to let out 8,000 more people, and the question becomes is like, who's going to take care of these 8,000 people? Like, there's already a housing issue. What I had to go through while I was going through college, I had my bachelor's, I had an award named after me and everything, and they still wouldn't let me live in apartments. So like, what are they going to do with 8,000 people who don't even have the awards I got? You know, who don't have nothing. You know, the dude got released in COVID. We helped him out. We put him in a hotel. They didn't give him no warning, no nothing. They just let him out, and it's like he had nowhere to go in the midst of a pandemic. People are less likely to open up their homes to people. Like, you know, what is the play at hand? You know what I mean, when we're talking about this, and like, this is the conversation that we need to talk about, because like, they spend all this money on this system that we're talking about, but like, dang, they didn't have a pandemic plan. You know, they didn't have a pandemic plan. Like, you know, if we spend all this money, like, it's just like schools. You know, I never had a fire at school. I've never been in a school that been on fire, but I know exactly what to do when a fire happened, because they gave me fire. They gave me fire drills. You know, fire drills. So it's the same thing. Like, you know what I mean, we got to start thinking of like the next steps on things, because like, none of this ever happened. But like, you know, what's going on in San Quentin, what's going on in people dying in different cities and catching this virus, you know, like we got to start being proactive in our thinking and trying to figure out ways so that we can proactively get people to a safe location and make sure that they got food and access to life, you know. So like, I'm really concerned about that. And when it comes down to policy, it's also like, you know, what people are going to do with their next steps, you know. So yeah, it's a mouthful, but like, the truth of the matter is, I'm gonna say this before we leave, is that, you know, I'm really concerned with what's going to happen with people living with past convictions after in post this COVID thing. You know, I hear a lot of concerns that's going on, you know, and like, we're lifting up police accountability and all this other stuff, but like, it's a lot of systematic injustices that we need to lift up, and but more than even just lifting it up, like, we need to sit down and have some type of plan at play, because if we just sat back and you know, we protest and everything else, but there's no plan for us to have some type of level of mobilization, we're going to be protesting again in the next few years. So it's like, you know, let's put ourselves in a position where it's some type of level of mobilization. You know what I mean? Like, we got to start trying to figure out how we can have some financial literacy classes, how we could start, like, we got a workshop coming up next week with Fair Chance for Hiring in the IE, where we're teaching people how to interview skills and all that stuff. Like, we need some like what you were saying earlier in the beginning, like some survival skills, some not survival, thrival skills. We need to learn how to thrive. You know, like we got to get past just thinking survival. We got to think thrive. You know, and if it's like, what is it? Like, if we have to figure out how to start little small businesses, whatever it is, we need to sit down and start having these conversations, because the last thing that I would hate for it to happen for us to have all these racial justice conversations and all this other stuff, and then we don't come up with nothing to put us in a better position.
100%. Thank you for addressing that, because it's true. And we do have the tools, and we do have the people who are willing to do it, at least on this side. So I'm looking forward to next week, and looking forward to the future, man. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you as always, man. And until next week, man, let's keep
Yeah.
growing.
So next week I'm gonna talk to you, right? But one
Yes,
thing
sir.
before we leave, how'd you get the nickname the coach?
Man, look, it started. The truth behind it started actually when I was incarcerated,
Okay.
and I told myself that I wanted to help people grow, help people change, and to help people heal. And then through that process of starting this company, I realized that I didn't have, the certificates. And so then it turned into a marketing company. And throughout that marketing company, I became a voice. And even though it didn't happen exactly how I wanted it to happen, everything fell into place. One of my friends gave me that nickname because I'm always the person calling the play. I'm always the person that's there to help figure out how to, maneuver around situations, man. So, coaching and calling the play, man, it's
That's right.
history.
That's right. That's right. So y'all got a bar. Y'all got a bar. What's going to come up next time? You're going to find out how the coach became the coach. You know what I mean? But all in
For
all, man,
sure.
thank y'all all for tuning in. You know what I mean? As a professor and a coach, you know what I mean? We out here trying to make a difference. Shout out to everybody out here trying to make a difference. All the organizations that stand with us. And Time Done Phenomenon. You're the bomb. You know what I mean? All the anchor orgs and everything else. Time Done Stockton 209. Time Done IE. You know what I mean? Shout out to Mr. Ruler, the Life Movement, you know what I mean? Time Done sending me this shirt, you know what I mean? I appreciate y'all out there, Southeast San Diego. Y'all keep holding down y'all crown.
All right. Appreciate you.